Hello and welcome. Business process mapping is a set of methods and tools to visualize our work. These maps show us what a business does, how they do it, who's involved, what customers require, where problems are, and how they measure success. When we build and discuss process maps as a team, we begin to see things the same way. Before we dive deeper into process maps, let's take a few moments to talk about processes in general. There are usually three versions of any process. The first version is what people think the process is. This is often not the full and true picture. The second version of the process is what it actually is. The goal of process mapping is to discover the details of the actual process. And the third version is what we'd like the process to be. This may be what we imagine the process to be at first, or new ideas we develop for improving the process as a result of our mapping activity. Creating a diagram allows people to move past our assumptions, agree on the reality of the situation, and find ways to move toward the ideal condition. Different methods for mapping represent what's happening in a process or across a series of processes so we can make improvements. These methods differ in several important ways. Let's briefly review 8 main types of process maps while highlighting their key features. A SIPOC diagram is a high-level map used to understand the broad scope of a total process in order to set boundaries for an improvement project. Since its purpose is to define the scope of a project, the SIPOC doesn't require data collection or detailed analysis. It can be drawn using process blocks or using a table as a template. Similar to the SIPOC, the turtle diagram is a high-level visualization of inputs and outputs for a single process. The narrow focus allows adding details of various resources, requirements, and responsibilities to meet customer requirements. It's also useful for orienting new employees to their jobs. It typically doesn't involve data collection and analysis. This diagram uses a simple template that resembles the shape of a turtle. The business model canvas is designed to evaluate new business models or to document key elements of how we're delivering value to the customer. It's a high-level map that typically doesn't require in-depth observation of process flows or data analysis. It does emphasize observing how the customer or potential customer engages with the product or service. The flowchart is very good at visualizing the details of the logical steps within a narrower process sequence. Data collection and analysis typically isn't required. It's also very useful as a visual work instruction document. The process chart uses a template and a simple set of symbols to rapidly record and analyze process steps in detail. Time, movement, or other data may be collected. The process chart often focuses on the flow of materials, but can be adapted for knowledge work and information flows. Next, we have the swim lane map. What makes the swim lane map unique is that it goes further than a flowchart by visualizing lanes of responsibility, their interactions, and how this creates complexity. The swim lane map is especially useful for businesses that have workflows with information and tasks flowing across organizational functions. This tool shares many of the same features as a flowchart, with greater detail and scope. The Makagami map is a larger and more detailed version of a swim lane map. Like many business process mapping approaches, the Makagami method visualizes the process steps, analyzes the information flow, and identifies losses and waste. Key differences are the depth of detail, the slow and methodical approach, and the format that guides the mapping and organizing of information. The value stream map is the only tool that shows how both the material and information flow through a series of processes. It also requires more in-depth process observation and data collection than the other methods. Value stream maps introduce their own sets of symbols for mapping. Value stream maps can visualize product flow, customer experience, transactional processes, or almost any work that can be observed. This quick overview of the 8 main types of mapping tools should begin to help you answer the questions of which is right for your needs. For additional detail, we invite you to view our modules on each type of process map. There are many methods available for mapping our business processes. Often there's more than one way to get the job done. But depending on the nature of our business process, what we're trying to achieve through our mapping activity, and the level of detail we are seeking, some methods may work better than others. There are 3 questions we must answer to help us get started with mapping our business processes. First, we clarify our purpose for business process mapping. This may include needs such as identifying the main and supporting activities of a business, clarifying the logical sequence of tasks, setting boundaries for an improvement project, preparing work instructions or troubleshooting guides, identifying critical inputs to our processes, evaluating new business models, clarifying responsibilities, support roles, and service level, showing how material and information flows through a business, etc. We might answer, yes, all of that, but it's important to take this step by step and not try to go broad and deep all at once. Different tools do one or more things better than others, and you'll likely need to rely on more than one over the course of your mapping activities. The second question addresses the detail we need in our map. Once we're clear about the reason and purpose for mapping our business process and understand which mapping method is designed for this, we need to select one that gives us the right detail and scope. We can choose our starting point based on having a clear idea of what problem we're trying to solve through business process mapping and what each map is uniquely designed to do. Keep in mind that there isn't always just one map or one right approach to visualizing the current situation. Large, complex business processes often require several rounds of mapping using different methods. In general, we begin with a broad scope and lower level of detail and proceed to a more focused mapping in more detail. For example, we can evaluate the value proposition of our business from a strategic level, identifying that business development is a critical area needing attention. We can then drill down another level to study the interaction of the functional departments such as sales, underwriting, contracting, and customer service. Then we may map the material and information flow to understand the specifics of how a document moves through the contracting process. This can be taken to additional levels of detailed flowcharting and mapping of individual processes. As always, we encourage you to learn by doing, finding the strengths and limitations of each tool. For example, you may have success with flowcharts up to a certain point, but may encounter more complex, cross-functional processes that call for a swim lane map. A decision tree diagram such as this can be useful as a guide. Third, the type and nature of our business process will affect how to get started. Business processes include a wide variety of activities we perform in order to deliver a service or product to customers. While the term business processes does not exclude physical or production processes, it often refers specifically to information-related work. In some transactional office work, there is a clear material or output that we can observe. This can be either physical or transactional. The value stream map visualizes this type of workflow very well. On the other hand, project work, non-repeating or creative work without a predefined output often benefits from swim lane mapping. Some mapping approaches favor simplicity and narrow scopes, while others excel at mapping large and complex business processes. Selecting the tool that is designed for your type of process will increase your chances of success. That wraps up our review of getting started with business process mapping. We'll see you soon.